Education in a young country like India, with over 700 million Indians under the age of 30, is a huge opportunity. A $110 billion opportunity that is growing at over 16% per annum. For millions of Indians, education is the key to escape from a life of poverty and limited opportunities. Like in other Asian countries, Indian parents willingly sacrifice lifestyle, comfort and security to ensure their children get into prestigious educational institutions, which greatly improves their chance of finding well-paying jobs in the best-known companies.
The internet is rapidly transforming how children are being educated. The incredible success of the Khan Academy showed how effective video-enabled teaching delivered via the internet can be. In India, new online edutech startups are massively disrupting traditional brick-and-mortar educational institutions. This week on India's Game Changers, we spend a day at one of India's biggest edutech startups to see how they are causing this disruption.
Byju's, named after its founder Baiju Ravindran, is an edutech startup that's raised over $100 million from a clutch of big-ticket investors and has ambitious expansion plans. It is India's biggest edutech company with over 7 million students who use its mobile app, of which 500,000 are paid users, with more than 30,000 new paid users being added every month. Byju's creates video and animation-driven learning content across the national school curriculum, as well as content that helps graduate students prepare for competitive exams. Its team of educators, content creators and developers is today over 900 strong.
Hello, Baiju.
Hi, Mirat.
Nice to meet you.
Hi.
How did all this start?
My first vacation, I was teaching some of my friends. So a few of my friends whom I taught, they ended up doing very well in exams. My first workshop was just for 35 students. So a classroom became an auditorium, which later turned out to be stadiums. Then it just took off.
What is the philosophy of teaching and learning that you subscribe to?
The products which you have created is based on the core belief that if you can bring that curiosity back in students, if you can make them like learning, moving it away from exam-based learners to creating lifelong learners is what we stand for.
Baiju, tell me a little bit about your background.
Growing up in a very close-knit community kind of an environment where you know that sharing and working in a team and all those important real-life skills you learn, you also learn how to maximize the minimal resources available to you. And so parents, teachers, studied in the same school and growing up in that kind of an environment is helping me to do things which I am doing today.
How do you go about designing your content?
So there's a strong content team who are the ones who are making it effective. They decide how a concept should be taught, how it should be simplified. The second team is a media team. They are the ones who make it very interesting. They are the ones who keep it creative, and as well as the engaging part is added by them. And the third one, the technology team, tech as an enabler, helping us to make it accessible to millions across, not just in cities.
The string of the guitar, visualize the air parallelly with the slinky as it compresses and gets pulled back, and see both as a graph.
Crucial to the success of Byju's content are the educators who front the content. These educators come from some of the best educational institutes, have tremendous screen presence, and make the process of learning fun.
When we teach any concept, we try to teach the child the why of that concept. We have a very strong R&D team of close to 500 people spread across content, media and technology. So if a teacher is saying a line on a screen, there are at least 50-60 people behind that line.
Baiju, what would you say are the challenges of an online teaching system?
It's very unstructured, so a lot of people, it takes time for them to get used to this format, that there is no teacher who's continuously monitoring. Core challenges in the offline format can only be solved when you use a format like this. It's about better learning through online, where it can easily coexist with the system. It's actually not to replace teachers.
A teacher which understands you better than anybody else does, knows your strengths and weaknesses, and creates engaging content which gets you excited and helps you achieve your learning outcomes.
We will have to make our content feasible or understandable to a person who is not all that good in grasping content to a guy who's really interested and who wants to go to the next level. So to be able to keep the content at both the levels, keep both of them engaged is the challenge that we basically face.
Given the pressure that parents put themselves under in relation to their children and then put pressure on their children, how much of that pressure for success comes on to you also as a consequence?
We are not putting students under pressure. In fact, if you see our product or even our messages, brand messages, everything, it's on the side of the student. When you learn right, when you get your concepts right, marks will follow you.
One of the threats, they say, to a business like yours, right, could be somebody else copying it and putting something like this out there. Is that something that worries you?
The app is becoming so personalized that once they are on it and when they like it, they'll continue being on the platform. 89% of the students who came on the platform last year, they are continuing with us again this year. It's a big validation of its effectiveness.
Most important, better half is our customer. So they speak to us, we talk to them, we understand how much of usage they have, we understand why they've stopped learning a particular chapter or stopping a video at 50%. So it's very easy for us to understand that this set of user or this user from a particular geography, particular grade is having this kind of a response or feedback. So we start sorting it.
Over 15% of Byju's revenues come from students in countries other than India. Clearly, there's a huge opportunity for Byju's to build a global edu-tech business.
About 15% of your revenue is now coming from international operations, right? So is there a danger of diffusing too much your focus by going international so
There is
soon?
always a danger if you are not focused. We have to keep pace with even technology. Like today it's about app, tomorrow if it's something else, we need to make sure that we have our learning available in that particular format.
In terms of how you prepare your content, would it be different for an international audience?
Conceptually it remains the same. Geometry is geometry whether it's here or whether it's in a different place. But we need to change a few layers in our product to make sure that they also get in a format which they like, from teachers whom they can relate to, from characters whom they can relate to. So that way we need customization.
Byju, you're a one-man army who has managed to inspire a whole clutch of investors to invest $100 million plus US dollars in your operation. Tell us a little bit about that process and how it feels.
I've been able to excite them to kind of actively involve in us, helping in our growth. As we have been able to use this funding to accelerate both the product development as well as the reach. There's always been a strong fundamental model which is making an impact in the way students learn, and students like it. So obviously when you have something like that, I always believe that you will get the backing of the investors.
In 2011, Byju founds Think and Learn. 2014 raises $25 million US dollars from RN Capital. 2015 launches Byju's Learning app. Over 2 million students come on board within 3 months. 2016 raises $75 million US dollars from Sequoia Capital, Sofina, Lightspeed Venture, Times Internet. Receives $50 million US dollars from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Raises an undisclosed fund from World Bank's investment arm, International Finance Corporation. 2017, 7 million students on the platform.
What's the work culture of Byju's? How many employees are there and how does it all come together for you all?
We've just crossed 1100. I believe in the power of people, empowering them, inspiring them, getting them aligned to the common vision of changing the way students learn. So most of the things which we do, like they do it for their first time when they join here. They join us straight from college. So average age of the team is less than 23.
Byju, I thought that by now you would have given up teaching, but I understand that not only are you continuing to teach, you are filling up entire stadia and you've made teaching into a sort of a rock concert experience like what happened in Delhi a few days ago. Tell us a little bit about that.
I still conduct workshops and sessions like what I did last week in Delhi, where more than 20,000 students sit together and where they actually learn how to learn. Taking a session for such a large audience, it's almost to be elevated like a performance. So you have to give your best to make sure that they are glued onto the screens.
Byju, what are the future plans?
We are not even reaching out to 1% of the student population here. It's like India is the largest K-12 school system in the world with close to 260 million students. We'll be very focused on India in terms of going deeper and making more and more students learn like this. On the other side, over the next 18 to 24 months, we'll start launching some of the products for international markets.
Byju, going forward, What is it that gives you momentum in your thinking, in your plans?
The real fun is not in creating a billion-dollar company, but in changing the way millions think and learn. And you know this much, that's huge responsibility, and that's good enough to keep you going on and on and on.
Baiju, it's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Niraj.
All
Same
the
here.
best.
Yeah, thank you.
My only regret is not having access to the kind of study material kids today have. A love for continuous learning is a great passion to have. Byju's has built a strong business with global potential. This is clearly a made in India success story.
Coming up, Sign, a business incubator designed to breed technology-based entrepreneurship, and an insight into the growing tribe of craft beer microbreweries.
The 17 Indian Institutes of Technology are India's pride and amongst the world's leading engineering institutions. The Society for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, SINE, runs one of the most successful startup incubators in the country at IIT Powai in Mumbai. We spoke to Poyni Bhatt, the CEO of the incubator, to get an insight into what makes this incubator so special.
The strength as an incubator we get here is that there are technologies that is happening on the campus. There is student energy on the campus, lots of idea, and there are deep down research that, postgraduate or research students are doing, right? So one aspect is technology development, another aspect student energy. Third thing is that we have academic courses on the campus and lots of informal activities on tinkering, hackathon, as well as entrepreneurship awareness programs. So the strength of this incubator is that we try to leverage, every element of these activities on the campus. We incubate companies for a longer time, but I think impact of the incubator on the campus is that it has created kind of visibility, kind of awareness and popularization of entrepreneurship. But the other support is intangible support, which is mentoring, which is access to business network, which is seed money. Being part of incubator, they get some kind of media visibility, stories are getting published. And more importantly, I think they have lots of experiential sharing.
SINE incubates 15 to 20 companies at a time. Unlike other incubators, many of these are product startups using cutting-edge technology.
We are trying to build a nano drone platform. It could be as simple as a gaming drone or maybe a dancing drone to a home security based drone. Initially people would say that a drone is basically something that flies, and what we want to say is no, that's just the beginning. And when you can do many things with it, that is when it will become extremely useful.
We are trying to make as much as the stuff as possible in India. Yes, we do take a hit on the cost side, but it just gives us a lot more credibility, a lot more control.
You can get a lot of resource contacts from inside the Sign department, and you can experiment because there are many industries working in a similar fashion.
What we wanted to build is a microscope that can be used for point of care diagnostics. We've designed the whole optical system in microscopes today to make it portable and lightweight. The whole device weighs less, around 2 kgs. The other thing that we've done is made it digital by sort of incorporating a smartphone or a tablet into the system. You can capture it like a photograph, you can sort of send it for remote diagnosis, you can do image processing on the phone and sort of automate certain tests as well. We plan to become an expert in the telepathology section and one of the biggest names in that area.
Many companies that were incubated at SINE since it was first launched in 2000 have gone on to grow into large successful ventures. Poyni spoke to us about some of them.
There is another company called Idea Forge. Young graduates, without any work experience, they just started a venture. Now this is the company which is making drones, flying drones, and they are the only Indian company which supplies drones to Indian defense organizations. In their category of the drone, they are the most efficient drone globally. There is another company called Sedimac Mechatronics, and that particular company was started based on the research done at IIT Bombay, and the faculty members together with his students, they created this company. This company also has grown very big in size. So this is a good example of research, faculty expertise together with students, how they can create a impactful big companies.
Poini has seen firsthand the change in the mindset of young IIT graduates from looking for well-paying jobs in large corporations outside India to a definite skew towards entrepreneurship and founding startups within India.
Now that ecosystem is maturing, lots of relevant components that are necessary for success are already in the place. An institution like SIGN, like not within the campus but outside also, they are supportive of startup and entrepreneurship. And I think there is a great level of now, mindset change that even if you fail, that failure is not really a stigma any longer, right? And even if you fail, you are learning a lot in the process, so it's not an end of the career. Tremendous change, lots of energy to pursue entrepreneurship.
Coming up, the business of craft beer. Fair honey-colored, light-bodied with a malty aroma. Mild caramel roast flavor. Blonde and fruity. Enter the small clique of craft beers in India. White Owl Brewery, set in Mumbai's corporate district, is one of India's growing microbreweries, started by Javed Murad and friend Kanchan Chiklekar.
At the time at which I was in business school, the craft beer revolution sort of began in the US. And suddenly all over the place you'd get, just good beer available at a very nominal rate and almost everywhere. And at that point we thought that, why don't we have a good beer available in India at a good price? And that kind of sparked the entire, thought and process behind creating White Owl Brewery.
Javed, a Mumbai boy with an MBA from Harvard, worked in the US financial industry for a couple of years before he decided to share his love for craft beers and make a business out of it. He set up White Owl Brewery in 2013. Sometime in 2010, laws in several Indian cities changed to allow microbreweries to set up shop in entertainment hubs. And ever since, there has been a mushrooming of microbreweries across several cities in India.
As of 2015, towards the end, we'd raised a total of 10 crores towards doing a lot of things, including the restaurant, the brewery, and initial distribution.
Beer has 4 essential ingredients: malt, hops, which is a flour, yeast to ferment, and water.
So these are the 2 vessels where the beer is actually made. In a nutshell, all the malts are taken over here, they're boiled, the sugars are extracted, the hops are added, the hops are boiled. All this happens over an 8-9 hour period. And once that process is completed, the beer is strained, it's passed through a plate heat exchanger where it goes from being really hot to really cold into a fermentation tank, and at that point we add yeast to it. Yeast will start eating up all the sugars, convert into alcohol, and that entire process takes around anywhere between 7 to 14 days, depending on the style of beer.
We import our malts, hops and all from Belgium. Yeast is, we procure it from Delhi, and water is basically we have our own RO plant here.
Every single recipe we have has been taken and has been adapted in our way to create the product that we believe is best suited for our customer. One example obviously is our Belgian wheat, where we use fresh orange peel to create a very distinctive and memorable citrus flavor within the beer. So every single beer we do has been tweaked in a manner that A is either intuitive or B has been reactive depending on the feedback we've gotten, but everything is customized to what we believe is the best way in which to present the beer.
White Owl Brewery's grungy garage-like interiors sees a loyal customer footfall. The well-travelled, experimental and defined by their love for craft beers. White Owl Brewery pours a whole range of craft beers on tap. An incredibly popular Belgian wit, the German Hefeweizen with banana and clove flavors, the mild caramel Diablo Irish Red Ale, and Ace, a French apple cider, served in gimmicky White Owl Brewery branded jam jars. White Owl Brewery has an eclectic fusion menu to pair with the ales, lagers and stouts. The brewery is unique in that it's the only microbrewery brand that is also marketing their craft beer in over 70 outlets in and around Mumbai.
Marketing of alcohol is illegal in India. We're not allowed to do it. And so we have to find ways in which we abide by the law, but at the same time put our name out there in manners that are allowed. We do a lot of digital marketing, a lot of on-ground events and promotions. We do a lot of sampling. We love being there when there are live events happening, live concerts, rock and roll music, outdoor events, out in the sun. People are out there, they're enjoying, a chilled beer, enjoying their favorite bands, and we find that to be, very harmonious in the entire experience of the customer.
So how does someone who has no background in the manufacture and marketing of liquor go on to opening a hip, cool microbrewery like this one?
We are not a country of legislation. We are legislated by states. So state A and state B will have entirely different rules, not just on taxation, but also on the way in which product can be distributed. So in a nutshell, learning really has to be done in the field. There's no real rule book that you can use and say, okay, I've learned it in state A, and I can replicate this model into B, C, D, E, and F. It doesn't work that way here. For better or for worse, it's non-discriminating, everyone faces the same challenge.
So what are the biggest roadblocks to expansion?
Taxation is one more complex area. So globally, when you look at taxation and alcohol, spirits are taxed at a much higher rate than beer and wine. And that's done because you want to encourage people to consume lesser spirits and more of beer or wine if they choose to, consume alcohol. In India, unfortunately, the law has not really reached that level of evolution yet. We have a standard taxation rate on all alcohol, and it's done for the most part on a litre basis. In other words, in summary, beer is actually the highest taxed product within alcohol within the country.
Javed is in the process of raising another round of funding.
At the end of last year, 16, we've closed one more round of funding, but that has basically been allocated for our bottling project. So what White Owl will be doing in the near future is to release 2 variants of our beer in bottle format, with which we really can tap into the wider distribution network that exists in the country and get our beer to more people in more places in a faster manner.
In India, wine appreciation and consumption has grown over the last decade. Craft artisanal beer on tap is slowly finding a growing tribe of young millennials who love the subtle new flavors on offer.